Hi everyone. So today my presentation is on the Dahomey and the French Dahomey and basically um, what it is. But I will mostly focus on this. What we'll be talking about is the All Women's Army and the Woman King. I will kind of give the gist between the movie Woman King and the real Dahomey. So Dahomey or Dahomey French, just a little bit, some introduction, quick little background. The question, is it Dahomey or the real Dahomey or French Dahomey? Our readings show colonization as more than history; it's a legacy. I think with knowing where the Dayome and where the Ogoji came from is kind of understanding their identity and understanding Benin, their history as a whole. Because colonization doesn't want us to know a majority of these things, especially on how they did the movie. Um, yeah. So, just a little background of Benin, the country. It was formerly known as the Kingdom of Dahomey. It was colonized by France in the late 19th century. It was then renamed the French Dahomey under the French of West Africa, and then it gained independence in 1960 and renamed Benin. Um, oh, Okay, the Renaissance of Benin. The Renaissance was present throughout colonial rule, and then we have the Agoges, an all-female army as symbol of strength. And then we're gonna get into. I kind of have a picture right there. I'm not sure if you guys can see it right here, but this is the Woman King. Like the movie, and this is how they really dressed in real life. Uh, and we're going to get into the details of Agoje and where it stems from and how the army came about. And this is just more so of like the justification of power between two different colonizers and two different leadership in which way. So if you want to pause and read, you could go ahead and do that. But we're going to get into the fact of the Dahomey Amazons were known locally as the Nanomilton. I don't know how to say it, but I'm gonna just call them the Agoje because that is how they ended up changing their name into Agoje because of King Gizo. King Gizo was the ruler by the time the Agojes came about, and then in the movie, the Agojes were kind of symbol of strength, like the whole kingdom fell for their knees. In the movie, it doesn't really talk about how the Agoge came about. Which to me, I felt like it should have been because even when I watched it the first time and growing up in Congo, we did learn about the Agoges, we did learn about Dahomey. So I kind of felt like it kind of watered down the history of the Agoges and the Woman King. The Agoges came about because they were all originally they were the king had too many wives basically. He had too many wives and he decided that he's going to make a woman army with his ugliest wives. Now, we don't know why he called them his ugliest. We never saw these people, but he did say that those were his ugliest wives, so he turned them into killers. And they were not allowed to get married. They were not allowed to have children once they got in the army. And then later on, it kind of became to where like if um, husbands were sick of their wives or their wives weren't reaching their expectation, they would sell their wives to the king and they would join the king's army. Or fathers who had rebellious daughters and were just sick of raising their daughters, they would sell them to the king and they would join the Agoje. The kingdom of Dahomey was actively involved in capturing and selling prisoners to war European traders. A majority of people who were traded in back in Europe or in the Caribbean actually have about 1% or some type of percent of Benin, specifically Dahomey tribe, because a lot of Dahomey the king sold a lot of his people during that time. I think 60% it was said that he sold his people. And now, on top of having a really big oil industry in Benin, he was still selling his people. And in the movie, it kind of downplayed that again. Um, it showed that he stopped selling his people, but he didn't. The Woman King, again, the movie, that's what it's called, The Woman King, highlights the Agoje, but fictionalizes many historical facts, like how the Agojes came about. Those were his wives, and they were the ugliest of his wives, and that's why he chose them. Um, in the movie, it talked about how he listened to Anessa, which is the head of the Agojes, to stop slave trading. That never happened in real time. He sold his people for many many years. um, Naneska was the woman king, so there was a woman king. That was fact. The real Dahomey practiced it in the Atlantic trade. I just said that participated in the Atlantic trade, slave trade. This is minimalized in the film. It is. The film frames the Agoge as these fierce, but historically, the Dahomey was majorly slave trading kingdom. Like majority of it was. Um, This film sparked interest in Africa's history and meld and female renaissance, echoing the Fanon idea of reclaiming identity through native, which I understand they did that, but I feel like the story of Dahomey, even growing up in Congo, I felt like it was just really like it didn't show the heart, the pain that Dahomey suffered during this time. Um, And in conclusion, Dahomey Amazon slave trade is inhumane. Human sacrifices offers a complete and compelling exploitation of unique military unity history, emphasizing the importance of examining historical narrative in their entirety. And um, yeah, I hope you guys enjoy my presentation, and I hope you guys watch the movie, because even though I don't like how much they water down in the movie, it is still a very very good movie. And if you like action movies, it's a really good movie. And it's still, and I like that they did use the real language, their native language, in there. They didn't use French, but that they used the Dahomey tribe, one of the tribes' languages. I'm not sure what language is that, but they use that. Um, I love that it highlighted the woman king, because she did good in her time. Um, I also didn't really like how they used the Agojes, because in real time the Agojes did not know how to really fight, but in the movie they were like these fierce, award-winning people. When in reality that was never the case. But yeah, that is just some of the Agoges, and I hope you guys really like Diome. You guys go and watch the movie. Goodbye.